All right, guys. Thank you all for coming. And thank you, GVM and Adorama, for hosting this workshop. We're excited. We're just going to go about a couple different lighting techniques. And I'll start off just showing a little bit of my work here. Yeah, here we go. So, I'll speak over this. Maybe we can dim down the lights just a little bit. Or no, it's okay. Oh, it's our light. Here we go. So a little background about me. I am from Norway originally, born and raised, and I started off back in the day as a PA. And I was really, I had that filtered coffee water ratio pretty well down. And one day I got thrown into the grip department because the Norwegian sets are so small, so they needed extra help setting up the dolly track. And from that moment, when I was putting these pieces together and I was seeing what the camera department was doing, my dreams of becoming a director kind of faded in the background because I was, movie lover growing up, and I was always like, I want to be a director. But then when I saw, what these guys were doing, and I was like, these are the guys that are making the movie. This is putting all the pieces together, the technical stuff, and creating the shots. And so I stuck with that department. I was close, and I kept lingering around that department. And basically, fast forward a few years, I graduated AFI, and at AFI, right after AFI, I just continued working in the lighting department, and worked with different DPs and kept learning from DPs, and learned tricks and tips from them, and basically started shooting short films and web series little by little, and eventually one of the producers on these web shows gave me an opportunity to shoot a movie. And he was like, hey man, you're pretty fast and you seem to know what you're doing. I got this indie feature. And then after that, it was 7 films in a couple of years, and I've been just shooting movies ever since. And so, yeah, that's me in a nutshell there. And I'll pass it off to my buddy Cory, who I met at AFI. Yep. We're good pals.
Yeah, it's a really strong work in your reel, Stephen. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh, thanks, brother.
Yeah, so I'll play my reel now and kind of talk over it. This is like my 2023 reel. I have a bunch more work on my website, just CoryWarner.com. I'm proudly raised in West Virginia. Kind of grew up in the Power Ranger era, making films with my dad, dressed up as a Power Ranger and making movies. About middle school, my friend got a DV camera and we were making like slasher films, stuff like that. And then I got to high school and I kind of stopped making movies. I was like, why do these not look like movies? I was like, I guess I need to go to film school to make these movies look like movies. So I went to film school, went to North Carolina School of the Arts. I was there for 2 years, learned a lot about lighting and just being on set and collaborating. Then I finished my last 2 years of undergrad at School of Visual Arts, not too far from here. Graduated there in 2012, and then right after that went to AFI and got my MFA there and graduated there in 2014. And since then, just really been hustling as a cinematographer, shooting everything from like award-winning films to some cringy projects to some fun commercials to some good documentaries. And this past fall, I got brought on to La Loya Marymount University. I'm a tenure track assistant professor teaching intro classes and advanced cinematography classes. In the fall, I'll be teaching some master classes that are a lot of fun. And this summer, I'm shooting some documentaries that we're shooting on 16, Super 8, multiple camera formats for it. So yeah, I do a little bit of everything, and we're really excited to hop into this lighting demo. I think there's just a few more minutes on my reel. You can see I kind of like really using light that feels natural but also heightened at the same time. And I really love using some camera movement just to kind of have this sense of immersion and presence with the characters. But lighting is definitely like one of my favorite things to do in the fastest way to kind of start, evoking emotion and telling the story. Yeah, I think this is my last shot, so we can.
It's a great shot.
Well, thank you, Robin.
It's a great shot.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool. Great. So yeah, kind of what we're talking about is like it's not the camera, it's the lighting. Like that was one of the big things I learned from one of my mentors. It's actually he's about my age, but one of the first weeks at film school, we were like showing each other the work and stuff. I showed him a project I made, and it was okay. It wasn't anything great. Then he showed me his project, and I was like, "Whoa, what camera did you shoot on?" And he looked at me very seriously and said, "It's not the camera, it's the lighting." And that was a really big aha moment for me. So ever since then, I've just been like, "Oh, what can I do with like lighting to kind of empower like my filmmaking?" Right. So with that,
right, and so basically the tools have changed throughout the years, but the concept's the same. So we're, we started out with paint brushes, painters painting on canvas, and then slowly once film came along, we had carbon arcs, like really heavy, big lights that had these carbon sticks that were burning, and then needed an operator because they were a big fire hazard, basically, and the whole set could burn down if nobody was tending to them. And then a couple years later, the tungsten light came out that we still some people still use today, it's still revered, but it gets really hot and basically uses a lot of output, cumbersome. HMIs came out, and there was always like, oh, the circuit broke. Oh, I mean, the circuit, the HMI is not turning on. We can't get it to work. And so all of this stuff was, and there was no different colors on any of these lights. So there's a kind of a cumbersome way of working back in the day. But now we're in a new age where we're all working with LEDs, and we can dim up and down, change color, flick of a switch, and basically, it's a way to just be more creative with the lighting and more efficient. So we're basically going to just talk about that today. And GVM also,
yeah,
they have a lot of good
different
units on the market.
I love this slide, just like the difference in these photos about how you can really really simple example of how you're using lighting to like affect mood and tone. It's like they're very similar screenshots and very similar actions, but you can tell like they're very different movies just based off the lighting, right? So that's like the lighting is like one of the tools you have in your arsenal to immediately start creating a mood and a tone in your films. And I feel like sometimes when you start out doing filmmaking, you're a little bit intimidated by the lighting portion of it. But it really is such a powerful tool to start immediately making the audience aware of like what kind of story this is, and kind of put the audience and like feel like they're in good hands with the film they're watching. Any thoughts on that?
No.
Yeah.
No. That's,
Cool.
that's great.
Yeah.
And there's so many different ways in our toolkit to create mood and tone with lighting. We have all of these. I find that if you can find out where the light is coming from, the direction of the light, all of these other aspects will kind of fall into place. But it's basically, is it going to be side light? Is it going to be top light? Do we want a more front? Where's the light coming from? And then you can go down the line here, and basically, texture would be basically, you're sending light through blinds, breaking up the light, or shooting through haze, or perhaps, bouncing it off of water, and then you get ripples. So many different ways to, break up the light. Movement, for example, lights moving through the subway station, replicate that, or, an ambulance or something driving by and you need the light to move. All of these are tools that we have that we can use in our arsenal to, enhance the story and make it move forward. So that's what we're going to talk about today a little bit.
Yeah, and like Steven said with direction, I definitely feel like that's one of the things that once you start thinking about that, you can immediately start enhancing your lighting. So we can actually plug this into.
Let's roll it into the camera here.
We can plug it into the camera, and a quick story. So when I was first at film school, I was like had to light like a winter scene, and I went to the cinematography teacher there, legend ASC member, just an absolute legend cinematographer. Went up to him and I showed him my lighting plan. I had all these like 200 watt, 650 watt lights just around the set lighting the scene. And I went and showed him that lighting setup, and he legitimately got pretty angry at me. And it's just like, there's way too many lights here. Like all you need to do is stick one light 90 degrees from where the camera is and call it a day. I'm like, that's all you need to do? He's like, yes. So let's just do that now. Like this is just a really fast thing to immediately start doing to kind of start making like a nice like looking image. So the first thing I like to do, like, so she's looking straight here and it's just like kind of frontal.
And I think, Seth, if we could turn off the overheads here.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
So one of the first things I love to do is just turn out all the front lights. Like anytime like have a camera set up, so it's like any light behind me, I'm turning off. And I'm just gonna turn this light here, kind of sidey, you know, just one source. And I just kind of, you know, put this in real quick and fast, and we're already getting like a pretty presentable image, right? You can just see immediately once, and let's kill this front one off too. Yeah, sorry.
Do you hear an echo? Is someone watching this on their phone on speaker? No?
I don't hear it.
I hear the echo a little bit.
I
Yeah.
hear the echo too, right?
And okay, let's just open your body up just a little bit towards the light.
Sure.
Just twirl it, yeah, just a little bit. Nice, and you can look towards camera. Great. So looking at this, like honestly, like it's maybe a little bit less than 90 degrees, but I feel like this is a great starting point. Like I just kind of like, all right, turn off all the lights. Let me put wherever the camera is, start with the light 90 degrees and just see where that's taken me. And like already, like the face is looking really nice. It's really soft. Like it's, you know, pretty presentable. So just imagine you're in a different setting where you have a background where there's like windows or like apartment or a house. Like, you know, you would do still pretty similar lighting to this. So I would just encourage you guys, like when you're out there starting making your projects and you're intimidated about the lighting, just like start turning off some lights and just put one light, you know, 90 degrees to the actor and to the talent to where the camera is. And I think immediately you'll just start getting more cinematic images, right? And as you get more experience, you'll start playing a little bit more. It's like maybe it could be a little bit more sidey or backy, but I promise you, if you just start doing this, you'll immediately start cranking up your like lighting to like a different level that you can start applying your own taste levels to.
Right.
Does that make sense?
You get a contrast level, you already feel like the light is coming from a direction, it falls off, gives a little contour to the face, it's darker on one side. It looks more, you know, it looks interesting, it looks like something.
Yeah, and just in a real space, you would have a bunch more like kind of ambience coming through the windows and stuff. So just imagine like a more playful environment within the setting you're at. But just honestly, this is like something we do like very regularly to just immediately start getting a acceptable image. Yeah.
In a lot of natural spaces, you have windows, and the light is going to come through a window, and it's going to be side lit. So it's easy to motivate from where the light is coming from. And a lot of the times we're talking about a side light here, but if you are adding an extra fill light, sometimes it's better to find a fill light source from where the window is coming from. So wrapping the key from where the window is instead of just putting the other light on the other side. But anyways, should we go into shadow side?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we, you want to move that light just a little bit back, and then, so basically,
Is the mic on in the camera? I think that's what's happening. Is it's going through the HDMI.
hello?
You hear that echo? Am I crazy?
Hello?
You hear
Hello?
it, right?
Yeah, I hear it too, yeah.
Yeah, I think the mic on the actual camera is on.
Okay, I don't know how to turn that off right now.
I got it.
I'm not the sound guy. Okay, and so basically, now let's say we're in a real environment and the light is coming through the windows already. And we're say that there's a wall here, there's no windows on the left side, but there's a bunch of windows over here. And then automatically you can put the camera on shadow side, which means
Let's
you
get you look like still.
you're like shifting over there. And I gotta pan the camera over, let me see. And so just imagine there's a dialogue scene and there's another actor right here. So she will basically, if you keep looking this way, you can see that she's basically now looking this direction. There's eye light, natural eye light. And if we move this light around a little bit. And you can just keep kind of looking in that direction. You can play with how much. Is it cool if I move this computer to this so
Yeah, I
we can
think
shift
we
that?
can 86 to computer now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I move this light back, so we're just doing this with one light right now, just to kind of show. So obviously this is really contrasty here. But it's interesting, and you can move it more slowly, move it more frontal. See, it's slowly dipping into the other eye. This has got a lot of contour. Keep going around. So we kind of, right there, we kind of went from like a drama to a, even if we were to go more, like this is really nice right here. And then if you go straight frontal here, look at this. Corey, I'm right behind you. We're going like this. Now, like all of the allure of that image is kind of gone. It's a little bit more modeled, you know. And if you go up on the light here too, we can show you this how it can change with the different where the shadow lies. She still has an eye light. This looks still pretty good. But basically, yeah, with this one source, you can, you know, just play around, move the light, and see how it just kind of changes the mood. And here we kind of are in this scene. And
Can we kill that light?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, move this over here. Oh yeah, look at this.
Yep.
And
And now we're getting some really interesting stuff. Just like once you start moving the light and playing with it, like I would really encourage you guys to do that, because a lot of times we go on set and we just set it up and we're like complacent with it. We're like, okay, it looks good. We have the soft boxes, but really, like I even feel like Kay, the model, probably appreciates that we're like playing with the light, moving it around, seeing where it like looks best on her face. Like that's just also bringing like a comfort level with the talent that you have as a cinematographer, that they have this trust with you, right? So like just playing with around with the light and being more, you know, have like some spontaneity to it. It's
right.
Sometimes kind of fun, even if you don't end up going with that really contrasty look. It's kind of fun to see how far you can push it with the talent that you have there.
And right now, too, we can see that with this shape here, we're getting like the Rembrandt triangle almost here on this side of her face.
Perfect patch.
Like a little diamond shape where the light is kind of going to the other side, and she's still getting eye light. So if you still, you know, let me see here, if you shift your face that way and then shift your face back the other way, and now she catches both eyes. Oof. And you have, obviously, you have great eyes that stick out. Like people with deep set eyes wouldn't catch that. But if I go a little bit lower, check this out. You get a little bit more eye light too.
So just deciding where you want that shadow to fall and where you want that patch to be. A lot of times technically, if you want the Rembrandt patch, you need to be a little bit higher up to get it. And a lot of times I feel like in lighting, we just place it on eye level and like call it a day. Again, it's just like kind of having this complacency of like, okay, it looks good, but like what else can we do to like make it look a little bit better?
So yeah, and
I feel like we can go to the soft light thing now. Or you have any more thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, and the cool thing, you saw how easy it was to move the light around. And that's one of the great things about...
And we're at 5% power on this light.
Yeah.
And we're rated 160 ISO on here. So like a lot, like, you know, back in the day, it would take like a 10K light to do this at this ISO level. Maybe not that bright. But again, we're at 5% on this light that we're using, which is pretty impressive. Like, that's just so amazing about the LED technology. 650B from GMV with the Chimera.
Is that like a high-end light, or?
No, it's
GMV's pretty affordable. Like, I feel like they're doing some interesting stuff on the market where they're like getting high quality light for like a accessible price point. But yeah, let's move on to another quick demo. Like a lot of people think about like soft light, and could you put that down for me real quick?
Oh yeah, I'll just put
perfect.
this back in here, in the center here.
Sure.
And then we can move. You want to just?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, cool, like
This is
that.
good.
Oh, you're gonna go all the way back, right?
I will eventually, yeah.
Okay,
So let's get her looking, and let me just, actually am gonna move this down a little bit just to be on the eye level. just a scotch for this portion. So we might have to dim down on the iris once it goes
Yeah,
close.
yeah,
So the
exactly.
thing about soft light is like how big the source is. It's not a matter of like just bouncing off something or just putting a diffusion frame on there. It's really a matter of like how big the source is relative to the subject, right? So that's why you see on these big movies in the behind the scenes ASC magazines, right? They have the 12 by frames, they have the 20 by frames, and they're not using that to like flex or like look cool, right? They're actually using it for a reason to like have a big source, to essentially doing what we're doing now. Like look how creamy, like let's stop down on the camera a little
exactly.
bit.
And then
Maybe open up just a
Kara,
scotch.
keep kind of looking this way so you get your beautiful highlight. Yep.
Just a scotch, just open up a scotch.
Open up a scotch. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so you can just see how soft and creamy like this light is on here, just because we're so close.
And it's wrapping around. You know, it's just the big
Just
source.
notice how creamy that is, right? You just see how soft it is. It's because look how big this source is to like the size of her face. And also what's nice about these big sources is too, once I start moving it back, it even starts going, like you get this nice contrast on the face, but you still get the eye light, right? Like you definitely see those moments in movies where it's like super hard fall off, but you're still getting that light in the eye. And that's just because how big the source is. Okay, so I just want to show an example. I think we'll immediately start seeing like how hard this light gets once I move it back. I wish I had a little bit more space for this, but I think we're actually going to start seeing instantly. Kay, let's get your look out there. Great.
You can just look here. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, great. And I'm just going to move this back, and
Try
you
to
can
go,
already
try to go a little bit more right, Corey. Just
sure. And let's just dim it up, Steven.
going up. Yep.
Yeah, and you can automatically see like how more specular that is.
You
like,
can
even
see here on the nose shadow that
Yes.
it's a little bit of a harder nose shadow.
Do you guys see that, how the speculars are changed? Where like when we were closer, that whole ball of light filled the face. And now that we're farther away, like you feel a harder nose, a harder edge above our eyebrow. It's just because we moved the light back. So again, let's just move this in closer just to see like what problems we're solving once we get close. Let's dim down on the iris. Yeah, big difference, right? Immediately you can see how much nicer her skin tone's looking just by having that bigger source closer, right? So what are we gonna do when like we're doing a wider shot than this, right? And we need the space. So a really simple thing to do is just add another light. Because when we do that, we're essentially creating a bigger source. So I'm just gonna add another 650.
I'm gonna move this one over a little bit to wrap this a little more, Corey.
Sure.
And then you can add your other one. So
Don't go
this-
too frontal on it. This
No,
time.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna do this. And then well, I guess we could dim this one down a little bit. And then that's the controls.
Cool, so let me turn this guy on. Let's get that one still kind of far away. Steven, let's back that up.
I'm just gonna go down on that. And I'm gonna take the egg crate off so we can show the example
yeah,
afterwards.
definitely take the egg crate off. Cool. So again, I'm at, I think 5% on this light. I'm gonna probably get a little better cable wranglers, sorry. About that. Okay, so now just by adding like these two lights, we kind of fixed that problem. We're probably a little too hot on the exposure. We can go a little bit down on that.
Cool.
But you can see just by adding, I'm just gonna turn off this first light, right? And Steve, you might have to compensate the ISO once I do this. But let's just look at that. You can see that already it's more a harder light source, right? But just by adding this second light, but just by adding the second light, and let's get our exposure right, then
This
you
just
can
feels good.
automatically see on the skin tones that like just by adding that second unit beside it, that it's already giving you that same quality of light that was really close. Does that make sense? Yep. Yeah, so it's just a simple little trick that you can do to just create two sources and, you know, have something kind of a bigger source. So you're just cheating a bigger source, but like,
Yeah.
you know.
And the cool thing also, now that we're got both of these lights up, you can see how the light is kind of spilling on the background a little bit. The cool thing about this is we can use egg crates, and these are the little flabby things we have here. They're basically a bunch of small flags that are put together closely, and they help direct the light and control spill. So you still have a soft light and you have controllability. So that's a really cool feature with these lights. And you can move them around. You can get the light off the background. Corey, if you pan that light to the left a little bit.
Sure.
See how the light's just completely off the background now? In some situation, you would want that. You don't want to, like if you have a white wall and you're trying to control the scene and you want to contain the light, you can put these egg crates on. You do lose a little bit of intensity, but it's a great way to control the light. And a lot of the times when you have soft lights, you have to add all this grip stuff. You got to put flags up, you got to put, box the light in, make sure it doesn't spill all over the place. Here you have everything contained to one stand. You can move it around really easily on a whim. And yeah, it's a great feature on these lights.
Yeah, the egg crates, there is a debate, people will debate about this, but technically they do make the light slightly harder, but I would say it's negligible for what you're doing by like cutting the light. So again, if you wanted to offset that, you just make a bigger source a little closer away. But there will be some people that say egg crate does not make the light harder, but I think that's kind of up for debate. Yeah, we're not gonna go down that rabbit hole. Anyways, I think we can move on to like just nuanced and
yeah, maybe the complex light. Yeah, like
so
adding the hard light.
Yeah. Cool. So let's take this down.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
So we're back to
just
this.
another quick thing that I feel like you can do with your lighting to make it just feel a little bit more dynamic and not so sterile, not so clinical, and just make it feel more real. Like, what's the Bresson quote? Retouch some real with some real. Anybody know that quote? Anyways, just so we can make our light feel like it's more organic. Because a lot of times we just go and we'll just set up these soft boxes and again, kind of get complacent and just kind of call it a day. So I think anything we can do to like add some tactileness and some texture, like really easy, can like help. So just by doing a simple,
okay, let me help you out here.
Yeah, thank you.
Bring you this light over here.
We're just gonna add this 300 GMV light and we put the source 4 adapter on there. And we're just gonna create like a little hard light on her chest area. Just like get some like some texture light coming in there. Again, anything to make it feel less clinical and technical, because a lot of people will just come with the soft boxes and like just put that on the face and call it a day. So I think again, anything we can do just to like add a little bit of realism to them, I think can set your cinematography apart. Even for like interviews, narrative scenes, like I really like this technique.
All right, so okay.
Yeah, let's just try it. We haven't set this one up yet, but I think in theory we should be good.
Cool. There we go, and we have leaves on this.
You can still be looking this way, right here. All right,
So this
nice.
is cool, yes.
Nice.
This is wiping
and
that a
let's dim up a little bit on it.
Let's see if I can figure that out here.
I'll probably walk this stuff to be a little closer to make it a little prettier.
Cool. So.
And we'll probably dim down on camera just a scotch, but
Do you want?
we can. I can do that.
Yep.
So it's looking pretty good, I'd say, actually.
You want to go a little wider so we can see what it looks like on
Sure.
the jacket?
Nice.
Whoa. Hello. Excuse me.
What did you dim that up to?
We got this at.
Because I was at like 0.7% on that source 4, or
This is like
that
40%.
adapter, because I just knew it was going to be such a spotty thing.
40.
Maybe dim down a little bit on it, Steven. Just a scotch.
Let me go.
Keep going, keep
See
going.
if I can see it.
Yeah, coming down.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe there, and just tilt it down a little bit to hit her out the face. Yeah, and just find that. Cool, right there. Nice. So just doing something simple like that, I feel like makes this lighting way more dynamic and a little bit more like complex. Not complex as it's being hard, but it's just like complex in terms of you're using more layered lighting. You're not just relying on the soft boxes. Because I think just a really subtle difference, right? Just by turning it on and off,
Yeah.
like that that's looking like fine. I feel like that's acceptable, but anything we can do just to add a little bit more
Yeah, and
touch to it?
let's say if the sun is shining through a window, that's going to be naturally, you're going to have some skylights that's soft, that's coming from the clouds and the general light, and then you have the hard light from the sun, and you want to sometimes mix these two things together. That's what happens in real life, and it really adds a new dimension to the light, for sure.
For sure.
And even if we were to dim, this is, we keep
Yeah.
this, maybe dim this front one down a little bit.
Sure,
Let's see if
I think
it
we have
just,
some room to play. I guess I'll dim this one down.
yeah.
And then we could even start, playing with bringing this one. Is that the brightness on this?
And even with a hard light like that, you can also introduce, introduce like a little bounce. It'll bounce off the light really, really nicely. See how it just kind of lifts up the cheeks.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid to use hard light, right? They're like, oh, it has to be soft, it has to be soft. But it's like, we don't have to hit the hard light with them in the face. Sometimes actually it looks really good, depending on where the actor's looking. But just having like a little bit of hard light like hitting the body and stuff really does just that little thing to like make this feel more real.
Spice it up a bit.
Because we're not really playing anything, like this is really not doing too much. It's really kind of like the hard light bouncing off the body, kind of filling in a little bit. And then Steven, I think this is a good time to show like filling from the...
And filling from key
Yeah,
side,
see if you
too.
can try to get
But
that.
I think if you turn this off completely,
Sure.
I can show that. Okay, so basically here, we are, and then if you can get me a little bit on the bounce here, Cory.
Yep.
So this is basically wrapping the fill from key side, where the key is coming from. So this is fill side fill. This kind of sandwiches the light. But if you do it here, it's very natural and kind of how it would happen in real life. Like the light is kind of coming in from the window and wrapping around. So you can decide how much you want. She looks great here. And
Just depends on the kind of movie you're making, right?
Yeah.
But again, also like we're doing still from 90 degrees is where like a lot of the light's coming from, right? So again, I would really try to kind of remember that, like
right.
the 90 degree. I don't know if that's like an official rule. I just kind of like say it myself. But like the 90 degree rule, wherever your camera's placed, like start motivating your source from 90 degrees, right? And again, as you get more experience, you're gonna like do different techniques on there.
yeah. Do you want to do the passive light where we basically
Yeah, let's do
just,
that for sure.
So what we'll do now is we'll just turn off the soft lights, and then we'll swap this. This is black now. It's basically negative fill, so it's not bouncing back any light. We're gonna swap this to white. Seth, is it cool if I,
Yeah, you just gotta pull the black level.
the black level?
I'll get it.
Yeah, I might fuck it up, dude. Excuse me,
Let's see.
excuse me. Sorry for language.
Oh, you're fired.
All right. Cool. So this is going to be a really soft light now, guys, because we have an even bigger source. Sorry. We want this. Change the outside. And this is using the environment that you have in your space to bounce the light. And I'm just gonna, is this the black, oh, can I go up on the, yeah, there we go.
It seems like we're also getting some spill from the
I'm just gonna do
the
that.
monitors.
But yeah, this is a really, really soft source because it's basically a bigger source, and that's what makes a light soft or hard. Is the material has a little to do with it,
Sorry.
but it's
Okay.
more about the size of the source.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is a very big source, right? Like this is, I would guess, like 8 by 10. I just made that up, but it's a really big source, right? You can tell. You can see how soft it is on her face. We did have to crank up the ISO for this, and you can see now we're actually getting a bunch of light spill that's kind of playing. But like, if you look right in this direction, but it's kind of nice. Let's dip down a little bit on our light.
She's looking
but it's
into
still
the
kind of
light
nice
now.
because you go into environments, right? And you have, like, you're shooting in New York, you have all the neons playing. It's like, just kind of embrace it. Sometimes people just kind of try to take away that too much. It's like, okay, I kind of like this blue feel that's coming from this natural environment. Don't be afraid to kind of like lean into that stuff. Because it just depends on like the story you're telling and the type of scene that you're doing. But this is such an easy trick. We do this all the time where we just put a light with a LECO adapter on there and just send it across the set to bounce into something. Because just imagine only moving that stand around on set. It's really efficient. And the same with these softboxes, just putting that on a stand and flying it around. You know, a lot of times when people bring out way too much gear, you start overcomplicating the set. It's like, just keep it simple and see what you need to start adding from there. Because you saw like our simple approaches that we were doing now, and like I don't think I would do too much different if I was like in a real location. It just depends on like the production design, like the background, the actual location, right? But a lot of times we're lighting this kind of similar, right? Your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. So do you use like more than one light most of the time, or you just like, I mean, like, well, basically what I'm trying to say is you use like only 4 lights, the most you use, or depending on the situation, you might use 2 or 3 lights?
It just depends on the situation.
Okay.
But like I kind of think of it about one source. Even if I am using like 2 lights, like I'm to bounce into something, like the source is what I'm bouncing into.
Okay.
So I'm using 2 lights just to maybe crank up the level. And then sometimes maybe like you're lighting through windows, and like each window you might be throwing a light through, right? But for like faces and like when you're lighting like medium close-ups and like conversation scenes, typically we're like using 1 light bounce into something or multiple lights bounce into something, but it's still just one source.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
And does it matter how high you go, how low you go with the light when it comes to like either darker tones or lighter tones? Do you go by like?
I think the intensity level and like the placement of that definitely affects it. But as you saw when Steven was lifting the light up on her, how you're changing where that patch of light's falling.
Okay.
So it's definitely something to consider.
Okay.
And for example, remember when I combined the 2 lights? I was essentially making those one big source. Even though I was using 2, I was just backing it up and putting them together, and it's just like one big source.
Okay.
So for example, like you shouldn't feel intimidated if you're on a set and like to be like, all right, I just need to combine a few lights to make one big one, because it's going to do the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for example, here now we added a hair light. So we got 2 lights going, but it's only working as a backlight on her hair.
Yeah.
And we still have the key coming from here. So it's like, oh, okay, here you have a way to separate from the background. If the background is completely dark, you can get your actor to kind of jump out from the background. And also, in the real world, we'll have, there'll be spotlights in a store or something. And so, whatever situation that you're in, and whatever the location is, you'll find out what's called for,
Okay.
And hair light was always used in old Hollywood movies. It looks really glamorous, and it can sometimes look a little artificial if it's really bright. And but yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times, like I find that I'm using less and less backlight. Because if I'm in a real location and we have natural windows, we have natural fluorescence,
You don't need so much
you already get that separation.
Yeah.
But definitely for a story moment, like you might like be that moment where the person sees someone that's really inspiring to them, and you might put them in big backlight just to heighten that. It's okay to be overt with your lighting sometimes in filmmaking. Like sometimes you start cranking it up, you're like, oh, this feels a little pushed, but like the audience, they tend to accept it if they're into the story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it can be extra a little bit exposed. A little bit.
Yeah, have some fun with it. Like, this is actually a good segue to the Robert Richardson
let's
lighting
do that.
setup, where we do like overexpose the background and we just use a bounce board to fill it.
Oh, wow.
So let's try that.
Let's see it. If
So
we
I'll
turn off
because we can
the,
just use this guy, right?
we'll use the backlight,
backlight.
and then we just play with the bounce, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to bring this down real quick. Sorry, Kay, I don't want to blind you. And cool. So where's that bounce card?
Okay, I had a little bouncy here, and let's see.
Is right there.
Oh, there we go.
So maybe, Steven, let's try to compensate the ISO so we're losing a little bit of this fill.
Okay, so maybe we go.
Oh, and I can dim up on this, actually, Steven.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that helps. Okay, now we're really in the zone here.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Cool. I guess, yeah, look at this. Now, this is one source. Can I see what I'm doing here? Yeah. This is just a backlight and a bounce.
Hold that there, too. Yeah, really simple, right? But like this is like such a really great technique. And we actually do this a lot, like lighting like scenes, like dinner tables, sun coming in, just blast a hard light onto the table and let the table fill in what it's doing. Because just imagine this was like a table right here, right? You just have like a sheet of cloth.
So would you
the
say you're
tablecloth.
using it like a reflector a little bit, just like.
Yeah, we're reflecting the light back essentially. Yeah,
Yeah.
a way softer reflector,
okay.
but the same principle like bouncing the light.
Okay.
But if this was a reflector, it'd be way harder and more
Yeah.
specular, right?
Yeah, because there's the silver side here.
Oh,
look at
there's
this.
yeah, use that one.
This is a little
Oh,
nuclear.
yeah.
Do you see that?
I like that.
Oh, you like
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
spicy, a little bit more, fashiony, maybe. You know, that is spicy though.
Yeah.
But yeah, see, you have all these tools you can play with. Sometimes these come in gold too, and you could get a cool
Yeah,
gold
but I think
color.
that's fun what you're saying, like how you like that, right? So you have to experiment with it and seeing
Yep.
what your taste is. Like, because some people might like that little bit harder kind of glow with it, and some people might like
But I
that
feel
really
like
soft.
You get more details with the harder light a little bit, you know?
Yeah, you definitely do
I
accent the
like
details.
you know?
Yeah.
More
Nice.
contours and shadows. Yeah, for sure.
Think-
Yeah,
I think that's kind of all this. Do we have some more setups for them?
I think. Yeah, I don't know how we're doing on time. We can do more stuff.
Yeah, we're about 5:40. So, yeah. Does anybody have any questions? We can
Yeah,
kind of
and
open
more-
this
more
stuff
questions.
up. And maybe I'll just put the side light one back on.
Yeah,
For her.
and we can. Yeah, this is a good way to just show. Oh, what it looks like with the side light. Oh, yeah. Wardrobe. Yeah, that's actually a cool thing we could test out right now with the
Yes.
hard light.
Yes,
Let's,
go.
because she happens to have like a white top on. If you open up your jacket just a little bit, you can even use the light to bounce off of the wardrobe
I'm sorry,
of the
yeah.
actor. Sometimes
Open up a little bit towards us.
come around a little bit more, Corey, with
Yep.
the light.
Mhm.
So this here. Okay, we can go in here. And here you're essentially just lighting her with her own wardrobe. But it's obviously a little hot here if you were in this zone here. It's kind of coming from underneath.
Let's keep your
Um,
the camera. Yeah.
So
But you can see once you start playing with it and just kind of going up and down on this, like what are you doing that like feels kind of interesting. But I do kind of like when you're just bouncing off the shirt sometimes to see what it's doing for you.
and sometimes you can even light off the other actor,
Oh yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
So if Corey, you want to do a little quick one? No?
Yeah, look at that. It maybe tilt up on.
If
that.
you were standing right here, you could do a little walk like this. And I could just shoot that into you, and then you could
Yeah.
get brighter.
Yeah.
So look at this. So Corey's got his shirt. Oh,
Yep. Yeah, so this is a nice technique. Actually, Spike Lee does this in one of his earlier films, where like a character's like in the basement and like they're kind of down and out, and another character walks up to them and like brings the light into like their life. So you can actually use it as a metaphorical sense, right? It's like how like we're actually getting closer, like we're bonding, like. You can actually use it as like a story element,
You see
right?
that, yeah.
And it's really subtle. So I think anytime you can add this playfulness to your light, like little things like that, like you're saying, I feel like an audience member sometimes, they might not audibly say, oh wow, but they might have this gut impact of like feeling something emotional, right? Because just imagine if she was totally silhouette and you had the big wide shot and she's like all dark and then like the character walks up to her and...
You're gonna feel it.
Exactly,
You
yeah.
could do that at the right story beat, and you're telling the story in a great way, you know?
Again, what we were talking about, like mood and tone, it's such an easy thing to play with light to like really enhance that stuff. And I just feel like we kind of get a little too complacent on that stuff. We're like afraid of hard light. We're afraid to add multiple sources. We maybe sometimes don't add that extra light to make it a bigger source. So I
Like,
just
you
feel
don't
like,
have to overthink it.
yeah,
Yeah, and then
Definitely, don't
and just
overthink it.
observe what you see in real life too. Observe what the light is doing when it's coming through a window. it's bouncing off of the floor and it's coming back. Like this kind of taking in reality, it's one of the great ways to just like, the other day I saw a light bouncing off of a back of a car window going through my window, and it was creating a weird pattern on the wall. And it's like, oh, this is happening in reality. I was just waking up from being asleep and I thought I was still dreaming, It's like, oh, this is this reality. So, it's, there's so many ways to light, and there's so many, because there's a thing that happens a lot is people become kind of complacent and generic, and they just want to put a big soft source, call it a day, and then the light looks like every other movie you've ever seen. But for example, like this, just adding the hard light, or like you said, you liked how that silver bounce looked, gives your light this more, makes it more interesting.
Everybody has different tastes. So
Exactly. Yeah. Bring your personal self into it. Any other question? What are you working on now, Cory?
No, I was just getting this lit up to be pretty, like nice and pretty on her and presentable and stuff. And
There we go.
yeah.
This looks great.
Again, just like having that highlighted example with the two sources, just really, it's so simple, but I really do think that it does add a lot of value to like her shot, right? Like off and on. Just, open up a little bit. Not you, Stephen. Her. That subtle, you don't even think about doing it, and a lot of people might miss it, right? Like the audience members, but it does ground them, I think, into a reality that you're trying to set when they're watching a movie. Like the last thing they want to be doing is like, oh, this is just like feel lit and not feel real. And even though we're lighting this, it actually feels more real instead of just having the soft sources there.
And now we have the passive return of this white, and earlier we had the black. So now you can just see. This feels really natural, like you would be in an apartment, and the white wall was right there, and the light was coming through the window.
Totally.
So it's all about.
It definitely like natural light too.
Yeah, and we're all like in a studio environment, right? And a lot of times you will be like on studio and sets where it's like, oh, how can I make the light feel real on a soundstage? Because the sun's coming millions of miles away, right? So anything we can do to like make it feel less artificial helps. Any questions and stuff?
Yeah, any other question? Well, back to your wardrobe question too. Sometimes you don't want it to be either too dark or too white, right? You don't want it to blow out. If you're doing a night scene, for example, and everybody's wearing black, it's just, you can't see them. So you kind of have to work with all the different departments, sometimes production designers, painting the walls, different colors to get what you need.
The shears from day shots will have like grayer shears, and then for night shots have more white, or vice versa. Actually, it just depends on what you're trying to do. So because once you start lighting the shears, they look really bright. So it's like, all right, let's make them gray so they'll look white on camera.
Do you do RGB too as well?
Yeah, well, love color. Definitely, if you could like look at my website and my reel, like even Steven stuff, we really embrace like color temperature and like playing with color to like enhance the emotion and add some style to it. These are tungsten and daylight ones, but GMV does have some RGB lights as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Cool. Is there any questions on the live feed?
Just one question about where you would go to study this on the East Coast.
I would encourage North Carolina School of the Arts. I think they're University of North Carolina School of the Arts now, but it's a great like kind of art conservatory college, but still like liberal arts, but they have like a studio system. In School of Visual Arts, where I graduated from here in New York, some great professors there. Like one of my mentors, I'm actually about to meet up with him in a little bit. Like always have had my back, been really supportive. And SVA was a really good resource for me to like just keep shooting a lot, because I came up to New York and I was just hustling shooting student films, and they had good access to gear. So yeah, North Carolina School of Arts or School of Visual Arts, I think, are some good East Coast ones I could recommend pretty confidently. And I teach at LaLauria Marymount University on the West Coast, so we're a really strong film school. So I got to plug the film school I'm teaching at right now. Yeah.
I noticed that you're using continuous light right here.
Yes.
Does the same process work with flashes?
It should, in theory. I'm like when I do flash, like we're both not photographers, so even when I do some photography jobs, I'm still lighting continuous source, just so I can, that's just how I'm used to doing it. But yeah, exactly, the same concepts apply. I just found with photography, it's hard to see it because you're waiting on the flash to happen. But if you have your measurements, like exactly, the bigger the source, the creamier and softer it's going to be. Yeah. Cool.
Great. Well,
Yeah, I think you're pretty good.
Cool.
thank you guys.
See your stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You want to give a
Appreciate
shout out
it.
where they can find more of your work?
Oh yeah, all my work is on stevenstpeter.com with a PH. That's my website. Yeah.
Yeah, my website's just CoryWarner.com, CORY Warner.com. Yeah, thank you guys for coming, and we appreciate you guys, the attentiveness and the great questions and everything. So,
What's your Instagram? Are you on Instagram?
just Cory Warner, but Warner CC. Yep.
Steven St. Peter on Instagram. Yeah.
And you guys watching at home, you can hit subscribe. This will be up for playback. You can watch it again because I know they just went through 10 tons of stuff in an hour. So thank you guys so much for doing this, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Later, guys.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you. Awesome.